Yeah.
So I'll just briefly introduce myself, and um, let me just present here. Okay, yeah, you can see the slides, correct? All right. Um, my name is Flavio Azevedo. I'm an assistant professor of interdisciplinary social sciences. So a little bit of the fish out of the water here as well. And I work mainly with political science, psychology, and at FORRT, which is the framework for open and reproducible research training, we essentially do a lot of open science, which speaks to the issues that Matt raised, but also other folks here in previous talks that I saw on the website in preparation for this work. And we essentially at FORRT, what we try to do is leverage big team science to come up with teaching resources, and spreading the word about um, open science, better practices, and that also, of course, uh, um, relates to transparency and reproducibility. And so I'll talk a little bit about FORRT, but more when it comes um, to the resources that we have, and hopefully that is useful for your group. So I'll start briefly here discussing more or less why we funded FORRT. So essentially, um, there's a lot of debate on the best ways to approach scientific research. And in the after the credibility revolution or the replication crisis in social sciences, we essentially wrote three papers saying like we need to improve the way we go about science making. And in order to achieve scientific utopia, we need to open scientific communication, meaning that we should find ways such that scientific research is available to anyone who wants to read it, access it, in yeah, no matter where you are in the world. We also needed to restructure incentives, um, academic incentives for research, um, in the sense that um, decreasing pressure to publish, focusing more on reproducible pipelines and transparency, sharing resources, and etc., as well as crowdsource science or crowdsource research, because our research questions are becoming ever more complicated, and we need to pool resources to do better research. And at FORRT, we thought, hey, that is all good and well, but there is this aspect about teaching, mentoring, and education that is missing. And therefore, we founded FORRT as the fourth pillar of what we believe better practices in social sciences, such that we would allow folks to start teaching what we call open science, open research, open scholarship. That's there's a debate on the proper name, right? And so we were funded about 5 years ago, and essentially we had several projects that take on the community, and FORRT is a really global South, global North kind of organization, in that we try. I'm Brazilian myself, and when I was in Brazil, I wanted this organization to exist, to contact folks in the global north and have more international collaborations, and that was just not possible. So when I came here, we created this organization that is, by the way, for early career scholars, by early career scholars. So this organization was funded when we were master's and PhD students. So you see, there is a bottom-up movement in social science. It is possible. The majority of the works that I'll talk about are volunteer in nature. We are not funded well. So it's mostly the community coming together to do things for the benefit of all. And anyways, each of these blocks are a little bit of the projects that we worked on that is about this teaching and education, talking about transparency, reproducible science, replications, etc. And essentially, we have resources on building community, dismantling hierarchies, incentives and academic structure, pedagogical tools and resources, and comprehensive educational frameworks for open science, of course. Right. And of course, given the topic of today's session, I want to talk with you about reproducibility, right? And so what is really important here is that for us at open research fields, or at least in social sciences, we sort of enter in an agreement that reproducibility is more about being able to reproduce or redo analysis with existing data that from the original work. At least that's in how social sciences it works. So for example, if I published a paper on the connection between A and B, I publish this in a journal, I make my data online and my code online, you go there and you try to see in that data if you're able to reproduce the results that I found. That's what reproducibility is for us. And then replications for us is whenever somebody else, not me, independent researchers try to find the same relationship between A and B, and try to see if that relationship exists in their contexts. Sometimes this is about a given marginalized group. Sometimes this is a different country. Sometimes this is a different culture, and etc. So that's for us what replication versus reproducibility is. And I know that's super different in mathematics, right? Because it doesn't matter. Mathematics works across maybe across the universe, hopefully, but most definitely the same way across different cultures and countries. In any case, once you're teaching reproducibility or replications, you're interested in the story of why we care for this. And we have this project called Replications and Reversals, in which you go to our website and you're going to be confronted with a list of table of contents here on the right. And there's lots of social sciences replications effects there. So for example, elderly priming, which is an effect in social psychology, said we found the effect that they found, the effect that every time we talk about old people or you prime them with oldness, people actually act slower. They would be calmer. They would talk slower. Yeah. So that's what the original finding showed, and replication. So other people trying to find the same results actually found the contrary. So they actually found that once you prime people with the idea of being old and oldness, people actually move faster and talk faster. So essentially, there's a gazillion different, more than 4,000 effects that might be relevant to you, the educator, that you can say, you can use in your teaching to why you should need reproducible pipelines, why you need Git, why you need a repository, why it's why your data should be fair and all of that. So that kind of sort of, I hope, is useful to your audience in the sense that this is the world's largest database of replications in the world, and we are enriching it. And we prepare 2 apps that might be useful for you to know. So first we have a replication database that, so an app when you go to our website, a Shiny app, and there you can explore the many replications that we coded on a voluntary basis for the you're interested in math. I imagine that you like analyzing data. So you can also download the data and teach with this data about reproducibility and replications. So for example, this is one of the graphs that we provide in the app about the original versus the replicated effects. You can do a lot. There is an R package there that you can download the data with, and it's very useful for teaching. Another app that might be interesting for you, it's also under the replication hub. We call all the FORRT initiatives under replication there, is what we call the annotator, and especially for educators. Imagine that you are teaching a syllabi, right? And we often, maybe you all are in mathematics, but sometimes you deal with people in other sciences, like pharmaceutical sciences, cancer biology. Sometimes you're teaching other folks beyond mathematics. And there you can upload your some references from that field, and in this annotator app, and it will tell you which ones were replicated and which ones were not replicated based on the DOI. So we essentially do a lookup on the DOI of your syllabus, or even the research paper that your students need to read, and it will give you, hey, this has been replicated or not. So this is very interesting and gives a lot of, like, the pedagogy of this is that you're moving away from the levels in Bloom's taxonomy, from understanding, and it's already about application and critical thinking. So that is useful. We have a partnership with the Center for Open Science to take this replication database to new levels. We are datafying it. We are very much in need of statisticians. So if you if you know a lot of stats, please contact us. We are really doing our best. Some of this work is paid, but we really want to make this not only the world's largest database of replications, we also want to make it usable for meta science. So we are working hard on this. We also have, as another resource on education, we are working on right now on a book on replications in social psychology, and hopefully we'll be able to have books on replications on other areas. So think about, I don't know, neuroscience or economics and etc. But this is a pilot, and essentially we wrote 17 chapters that will be openly accessible. It's not yet there. You can only see this now if you join our Slack. And then you can contribute to this and become an author. I'll share with you the link to join our Slack just in one moment. Yeah. Okay. Oh, did I do that right? Okay. No, I don't think I can do that. Well, let me just try one more time. Okay. Right. It's now on the chat. And then, yeah. So this is a resource that will soon be on our website. And then I want to talk about the syllabus. So we have an initiative called Syllabi in our FORRT website that essentially collects a lot of educational resources on everything that deals with open science, open research. And you can go there and see if you find something that rocks your boat, but it's a collection, and we also take entries. So if you have material that you're teaching yourself and it's not there, let us know, we will include it. And that's the same for FORRT's curated resources database. So essentially you go to the FORRT website, you go to curated resources, and you can, as long as you type a word that is full, so replication, but you cannot type repli, that is not a full word, you will find resources for teaching. Normally, the majority of resources are either academic or in teaching. So this is very nice. And also, you can add resources there yourself. So I should add Talmo's website and the amazing materials that is available there. I missed that boat, actually. Our community also does initiatives that talk about transparency, reproducibility, but also that has into account the fact that the majority of the global South doesn't have access to research papers. So we essentially summarize them, summarize papers that are paywalled in open science. And that is a really good way to include folks from the Global South. We made this project to be very low threshold, such that more people can contribute, and in this way, join the community or have a sense of community, etc. We have pedagogy, so I'll just go very fast on the following projects. We have a lot of pedagogies that were implemented to teach these topics. Check it out. We wrote an entire paper about replications and reversals and how we are changing the way we do our science. And in that paper, we also talk about lots of pedagogical activities. So not specifically on mathematics, but about tools that you use to check your papers, your teaching. There's lots of interesting things. We also wrote a paper on the impact of teaching open science to students. What happens to them when it comes to their scientific literacy, their attitudes towards science, and their student engagement. So it's a really thorough review, systematic review on this topic, and you can go to FORRT.org/impact. It is published on the Royal Society of Open Science. And recently, this paper will also be published in the same journal, Royal Society of Open Science, but we made a thorough mapping of communities of open science in psychology that will be published at ARSIS, but also we now have a project to make a Shiny app to have all these communities shown in an interactive way, as well as like information on funding, resources, and etc. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about just to say that FORRT tries to have projects that are easy to incorporate, dynamic, and fair. Fair means findable, adaptable, interoperable, and reproducible. And that an idea for a project that you might have, it might be on mathematics, might be on teaching, might be on pedagogy. You contact us. We identify a team manager, we invite collaborators, we have meetings, and then we share the resource on the website, and we write an academic paper. And so far, in 5 years, we gathered more than 470 citations. We have a Google Scholar page. We receive about 5,000, I think, 6,000, I think, visits a month. So every 30 days. So for example, in Germany, I checked this today, we had 656 users, and this is our community. So very much based in say Europe and the UK, we have a lot of members, but we try to be, spread out as well. Those are our links. I hope this is useful as a resource, and I can't wait to hear about both Minas talking about their research.
Thanks very much. So for those people, I suppose two questions. For those people who are interested in becoming involved in FORRT, is the procedure then to just hop onto Slack and go from there? Is that the
Yeah.
idea? Is it, or
Yes.
am I miss? Okay. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Join Slack. We hate it. I don't know if you know about Slack, but it's awful.
It is.
But we sold our souls, unfortunately, and we have a big community, and it's too late. But by all means, yeah, I really wish we could change. But even Slack, a lot of the academics are find it, let's say, too fancy.
Yeah. And also you said it was early career researchers for early career researchers. So does that mean that people like me who are old are it's not for the likes of me?
No. We talk about early career, but as you can see from my beard, I transitioned from a master student and a PhD student to a professor. So I think while I'm still perhaps early career, the community is welcoming to all, especially marginalized folks, especially folks from the Global South, but to all. And especially when it comes to if you're committed to FORRT values, which is, open science values, social justice, everyone is welcomed, and everyone, it's a sort of a flat organization. So anyone can come up with projects, anyone can ask anything anywhere. So along the lines of, I don't know, the Carpentries, the Turing Way, just other organizations that
Yeah.
we admire.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great. Okay, I don't think that there's any other questions at the moment, but perhaps they will show up in the general discussion.